Hello everyone and welcome back to another Fallout 76 Purveyor video. Today I'll be spending 1000 Scrip on a mix of 2 and 3-star legendary weapons in the hopes of finding something interesting that I can feature in a weapon spotlight video. Of course, I'll talk about each item along the way, what's good, what's bad, what's somewhere in between. You know how these go at this point. If you don't know how these go at this point and you're new to the channel, then remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more Fallout 76 content, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I publish multiple new videos on the channel every week. Alright, let's get into it and see if Mama Mumbles has anything good for us today. Alright, let's start with a 3-star weapon. And our first one is garbage. Exterminator's submachine gun with VATS critical shots doing more damage and faster movement speed while aiming. So the problem here is twofold. Number one, it's a submachine gun, which is underpowered as a whole. Just not an amazing weapon, and it's exterminators. And unfortunately, exterminators is an effect that is highly situational. And sadly, it's not one of those situations that we're really looking for. If it were troubleshooters or mutant slayers, something that's predictable that we can use during daily ops, then that becomes a little more interesting, but there just aren't very many situations where we need to fight mirelurks and bugs, so let's see what's next. And we have a hunter's Gatling gun. So she's hitting us with the situational stuff early. Hunters, same kind of problem. You know, damage against animals is nice and all, and technically it applies to scorch beasts, but you're really going to carry this weapon for that? No, you're not. So VATS hit chance is nice, +1 perception is nice, the Gatling gun is kind of a cool weapon. Unfortunately, Hunters is just not a very good effect. And next up, we'll switch to a 2-star, and we get a Mutant's 10mm pistol with VATS hit chance. This is not amazing, but not horrible. Mutants gives us a little bit of extra damage, which is always good to have, and most players are mutated, so it is kind of fair that it's not a huge amount of damage, but it would be nice if that was a little higher or had some additional effect. VATS hit chance is excellent for pistols. They're already pretty inefficient, so anything that you can use to boost up that ammo efficiency and hit more shots is a good thing. So if someone is going to do a guerrilla build or a pistol build with a 10mm, this is not a terrible option. I would love to see an effect better than mutants on this, but the VATS hit chance is really great. I've got a bloodied one with VATS hit chance on my guerrilla build, and I really enjoy it. It works out really well. Mutants, not going to do quite as much damage as that, but for someone who is trying to do a build and is kind of working their way up, not a bad way to go. Let's see what we get next. Oh, she is loving the situational stuff today. Okay, Exterminator's plasma pistol with VATS hit chance. So here again, VATS hit chance for any VATS player, that is an excellent effect. Unfortunately, we're stuck with exterminators, that situational effect that just isn't a situation that we ever find ourselves in. Let's move on. Alright, we'll switch back to 3 stars. And here we get an instigating single-action revolver with 10% damage while aiming and 250 damage resistance while reloading. So I don't love the single-action revolver. That's never been a secret around here. I think it's too slow. I think the reload is too slow. I think the action is too slow. I don't think it does enough damage. So I'm just not a fan of the weapon. However, if you are a fan of the weapon, this is not a bad one to roll. Instigating has been nerfed since the last update, but it's still a very good effect. So not quite as powerful as it was, but still very useful. An extra 10% while aiming never hurt anybody, and this one, 250 damage resistance while reloading, is very useful because this is a slow reload weapon. So that gives you a little extra protection when you do have to reload it. So while I don't love the weapon, there's probably somebody out there that really does, and this combination of effects would be excellent on it. Alright, let's pop another 2-star, and oh God, we got a Furious Broadsider with 25% faster fire rate. Oh yeah, one of these days I'm gonna do a video on the Broadsider. It's just so bad. It really, really is. I actually tried to do one the other day with a 2-shot Broadsider, and you know, it broke before I got through the first room at the White Spring Golf Club. So yeah, while these weapons can be fun and interesting, I suppose, until they figure out how to let players use them for more than 3 minutes before they break, they're going to continually be maligned as just utter useless trash, because who wants to play with a weapon that breaks every 3 minutes? Alright, next up we've got a Mutant's Pump Action Shotgun. Damage increased by 10% if we're mutated, and bashing damage increased by 40%. So, mutants again, not a terrible effect, at least it's a net positive for our damage. Bashing damage is completely and utterly useless. The days of magic damage are over, so that effect is no longer desirable, and they really need to change it, especially now that we have the resilient mutation in daily ops. If that effect was bashing damage speed increased or bashing speed increased, that would be useful. Extra damage, nobody wants that. And our next roll is an Executioner's Short Laser Pistol with more damage when our target is below 40% health, extra limb damage, and perception. So, Executioner's, in my opinion, is better than it once was. Not because it's improved, but because other effects aren't as good. This is the kind of weapon that it works on. Executioner's is going to be a good effect on weapons that do small amounts of damage at maybe a higher rate of speed. So if you were to put an automatic barrel on this, maybe make it an automatic rifle, use it as a commando or a guerrilla, then Executioner's, you would see some benefit from that, because it normally takes you a couple of shots, even when your enemy is below half health, to take them down, because this is not a high damage per shot weapon. So Executioners could be really interesting on this one, and I may just test it out at some point in the future. I did it with a radium rifle and it worked out really well, and I imagine this one's going to be a similar situation. Alright, another 3-star. This one is a 2-shot harpoon gun with 10% damage while aiming and 15% faster reload. I've never been a huge fan of 2-shot. I don't like the accuracy penalty. With that said, it does help on a weapon like this. It's going to give you some pretty serious damage. Extra damage while aiming and faster reload helps because you reload this basically every shot, so that's not a bad thing, and the extra damage boost while you're aiming isn't a bad thing. With the harpoon gun, it's one that actually benefits from heavy gunner perks rather than rifleman perks, so it does sort of provide you with a quasi-sniper option for your heavy gunner character, so it could be a fun one to play with. Let's see what's next. We've got a 2-shot pipe revolver with faster fire rate and damage resistance while reloading. So, again, not in love with 2-shot, but with some mods on here, you can get the accuracy working halfway decent, and faster fire rate doesn't hurt, but it's not an automatic weapon, so I don't think you're going to see a huge difference in performance from this. But the damage resistance while reloading is particularly nice. Revolvers have a slower reload, so anything that gives us a little extra protection while we're reloading isn't a bad thing. I'm also pretty sure you can still double dip on the pistol and rifleman perks if you put a rifle stock on this thing, so you'll have diminishing returns with the new damage model, but you can still do some interesting stuff with a weapon like this. Alright, let's jump back to a couple more 2-stars, and here is the 2-shot, another 2-shot broadsider. I already have a 2-shot broadsider. It already broke in 3 minutes. Oh, Mumbles, you just really, really like tormenting me, don't you? Let's move on. Alright, and next up we've got a Berserker's Gauss Rifle with 33% VATS hit chance. So, While I personally don't love the Berserkers build, there are some people who play it, and the benefit to it is basically that you don't have to screw around with armor. So it is kind of appealing in that sense if you're a low maintenance kind of person who doesn't want to get into all that stuff. A weapon like this is going to be ideal for that build. For that kind of build with no armor, you need to stay safe, you need to stay far away, you need to stay stealthy and sneaky. So a weapon like this that you can put a suppressor on, take out enemies with high damage from a distance, that's very appealing for a Berserker's build, for a Berserker's sniper build in particular. So not a bad roll here. It's not for me, but it could be really interesting for somebody out there. All right, last roll of the day. We're back on 3 stars with a Hunter's laser pistol with faster fire rate and damage resistance while reloading. So we finish where we began, with a situational effect that is largely useless on a weapon that is largely underwhelming. And while the second and third effects are pretty good, unfortunately, the weapon and the main effect aren't. So it's just not one that we're going to use. It's definitely going to get turned back into Scrip. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of today's visit to the Purveyor. We had a couple sort of interesting things and a whole lot of garbage. Hopefully next time goes a little better. You never know. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's the fun of gambling, especially when you're gambling with imaginary money that you got from turning in garbage in the first place. So with that, we're going to call it a day. Remember, if you liked this, if you had some fun with it, found it interesting or informative in any way, please go ahead, hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. There's always more to come. Until next time, I'm Fisty McRib.